In his childhood, a boy was watching a soccer match and had a very vague dream. In the game, a player named Park Ji-seok had scored the equalizing goal, and that boy's dream was to become the best soccer player in the entire world. With every second, every whistle, and every pass, he cheered as if he were living it himself. The little boy's name was Ho Yong. At dinner, his father had asked him what his biggest dream was. Yong, without thinking twice, with a smile on his face and his eyes shining, said it was to become a great soccer player like Park Ji-seok. But his father did not look very happy with that answer and told his son that in order to become a soccer player, he needed to have a lot of talent. But soon after, he smiled, saying that he thought his son really did have a very special talent. This made the poor boy think his father was right. Because of that, he always believed he was talented and a genius soccer player. In 2002, he entered a soccer academy with great expectations, but he was no match for the other children who had been professionally trained. He lost almost every battle for the ball. The coach went over to him, saying that he needed to train separately, and pointed to the side. This shocked the protagonist because that was the group for children who were below average. It made him feel as if there was a huge wall between him and his dream. The disappointment was so great that it made him quit the soccer academy as if he were running away from it. The boy lived sadly, thinking that he would never be able to reach his true goal and his greatest dream. But his father, trying to comfort him, explained that everyone grows at their own pace, and just because a sprout grows quickly does not mean the flower will bloom quickly. This made him wonder what would have happened if he had not given up back then, because he did not know whether he truly had talent, whether he would have worked harder, or whether he would have already bloomed and borne fruit. In 2016, the protagonist was in a bar having a drink with his friend. His friend noticed that he was very distracted and asked if he was acting that way because he was already getting drunk. Young says it is nothing and proposes a toast to congratulate his friend for being accepted. His friend says he had already congratulated him before, but thanks him again. The protagonist asks when they would celebrate, if not on a day like that, because when good things happen, they should celebrate. The protagonist thinks that it is time to celebrate because his friend Yong-soo, who is sitting right in front of him, has just joined a professional soccer club. In comparison, Young's job is as a part-time store clerk. Even though he is happy that his friend is experiencing a great moment in his life, he still feels deeply sad for sabotaging his own life, since he had given up on his greatest dream. After downing a full mug, he starts thinking that he really wants to be a soccer player, but he is a complete idiot. He should not have given up back then, and now it is eating him up inside like cancer. He looks at his friend and says that if he had kept playing soccer, maybe the two of them could be playing together now. Young-soo jokes about the situation, telling the protagonist not to talk nonsense, because if that had really happened, he would have already won the Ballon d'Or. Besides, he tells the protagonist that regretting it now changes nothing, because it is too late. Young thinks that he has been regretting it every day, at every moment. He did not want to play soccer only as a hobby, and he also did not want to have given up back then. Even after his first disappointment, he had many opportunities, but he was only repeating his regrets, thinking that it was already too late and then going back to his part-time job. He remembers the moments that made his heart happy while watching soccer matches on television, and thinks that he wants to go back and start all over again, but in the end, he is just an idiot who lived like an idiot and made idiotic choices. While he was lamenting, Young-soo receives a message and asks the protagonist if he wants to play right now. The protagonist is surprised by the invitation, and his friend shows him the message on his phone, saying that Song-ho needs 2 more people to play futsal, 4 against 4. The protagonist asks if they are really going to play now and looks outside, seeing that heavy rain is falling, but agrees without hesitation. The two pay the bill and start heading to the soccer field. A short while later, they arrive and greet everyone, saying that it has been a long time since they last saw each other. The protagonist looks at a red-haired boy who apparently seems a little uncomfortable seeing him there. Yong thinks that the boy is Yeon Jung-ho, and he does not even say hello to the others. Yong knows that Jung-ho is a talented player, good enough to win the Cha Bum-kun award. That award is basically a title given to a Korean soccer player who has many records to his name. There were even talks about Ju Hyung becoming his successor, but he had to retire from professional soccer due to an injury, and the two of them had always had a bad relationship ever since they were young. And apparently, Jung-ho still holds a grudge over all of it. The teams begin to be formed, and Yong-soo asks why they should play outside in the rain. Another guy explains that the covered field is full, but they can just play a quick match before other people start showing up. They explain that the rule is very clear. There will be 4 players on each side, and the first team to score 5 goals will win the match. They throw the ball into the air and start the game. The captain of the protagonist's team tells him to move forward because the protagonist had been a renowned striker even at the soccer academy where he followed his father. His technical and physical skills were well above average at that time, He easily controls the ball and heads toward the goal. The protagonist remembers that back then, he was skilled enough to claim that he could shoot the ball accurately from anywhere on the field. But Young-ho appears and manages to stop the attack. The protagonist knows his limitations and thinks that, even though he is a very good person, he still cannot compare to an experienced professional. Young-ho merely looks at the protagonist and starts running on a counterattack, making the protagonist irritated. However, he focuses, thinking that he had always wished for this kind of scenario. A high-level match is everything he had always been looking for. He quickly runs back to defend and manages to steal the ball from Young-ho, thinking that this time he will understand who is better. But Young-ho manages to recover the ball and the two stop in front of each other, as if it were a duel between gentlemen. Young-ho says that the protagonist's pass is truly terrible and kicks the ball hard, hitting Young's leg. The protagonist gets angry and grabs Young-ho by the shirt, telling him not to be arrogant. Quickly, both teams move in to separate the fight, asking them to calm down a little. Young-ho says that the protagonist is just a pathetic child, so he will let it pass this time, but tells the protagonist to go get the ball since it had hit his foot before going out. Young, still nervous, says that Young-ho is just a loser and goes to get the ball, but before he can pick it up, the rain becomes even heavier, and a very powerful lightning bolt strikes his body, causing a massive electrical discharge. He screams in pain as if his entire body were burning from the inside out. While feeling all that pain, he cannot believe that he has just been struck by lightning because he has not accomplished anything yet, and it is very unfair. With his body basically charred, he keeps questioning whether this is really it, whether he's going to die in such a meaningless way. He begins screaming at the sky, ordering it to give his life back immediately. But he notices that all the pain in his body has stopped for an instant and looks around, asking where he is. A cold laugh begins to echo through that strange space where the protagonist is, and energy begins to flow into a single point. Suddenly, a humanoid monster appears, leaving the protagonist a little frightened. Young asks if the thing in front of him is a demon, or something like that. That monster says that, apparently, the protagonist is starting to recognize him. Young explains that this is very obvious since he looks like a demon, so of course he would be one. That strange monster agrees, saying that the protagonist is right, because he is the demon of greed, and humans call him the brain eater. The demon asks if the protagonist would like to make a deal. Young freezes for a few seconds, takes a deep breath, and says that before anything else, he needs to know what kind of contract they are negotiating there. The demon of greed says that this is very fair and begins explaining to the protagonist that he could negotiate two things. The first is time, and the second is that ability. And to make it a little clearer, Greed says that he will first start by explaining time, saying that the protagonist can go back in time from 10 to 23 years. This leaves the protagonist impressed, but the demon of greed emphasizes that nothing is free. He says that there is a price to be paid. Young asks what the price would be for going back in time. Greed explains that if he goes back 1 year, then his total life expectancy will decrease by 1 year. The protagonist realizes that this is something very risky to do. The demon of greed continues, saying that if he goes back 23 years, it means he will lose 23 years from his total lifespan. However, the protagonist should not think too much about that, since no one knows exactly the day they will die. He could have 1 more year to live or 40 more. Young starts laughing and agrees with Greed, saying that this proposal is actually very well balanced, since he never wanted to age, grow old, and have his little buddy go soft. Besides, the older he gets, he might also end up going bald, so he does not care about losing those 23 years. Besides, people nowadays can live up to 100 years, so he still has plenty of time. But before making a decision about the choice, he would also like to know about the other ability. The demon of greed begins explaining that if the protagonist chooses the ability, then the demon of greed will give all of his power to the protagonist. Young becomes a little more confused, thinking that this power might be the power of the devil, and asks what kind of power it is. Greed explains that the power he possesses is basically obtaining anything the user desires. The protagonist, still a little confused, asks what greed really means by that. The demon says that it is exactly what the protagonist just heard. It is the power to steal other people's talents for himself. Young starts thinking about it for a moment, since it is hard to understand the nature of that ability with words alone, so he will have to try it himself to truly understand what it means. But either way, if everything he just heard is true, he can obtain everything he desires through his ability. After making his choice, the demon of greed extends his hand and a glow begins to emanate from it. The protagonist says that at this point, it looks more like a charity transaction than a deal between the two of them. Greed asks how many years the protagonist would like to regress in time. He laughs, saying that this is truly absurd, but if it is real, he would like to go back to... Suddenly, he opens his eyes, a little lost, and realizes that he is inside his room. He looks at the calendar and the news on television and is surprised, thinking that he really is back in his childhood. He tries to speak and realizes that his voice is normal. His body's movements are also exactly as they were before, and when he looks at the calendar, he realizes that he has returned to 2002, exactly 14 years ago. That means he is currently 10 years old and in the 3rd year of elementary school. Yang gets excited because now he has returned to an age where he can truly achieve anything. He notices that his mother asked his father for help, becomes surprised, and looks at the two of them, seeing that his mother and father are young now. After the dinner table is ready, the protagonist's father asks the same question that had been asked 14 years in the past. He asks his son what his greatest dream is, and Yang answers the same way with a smile on his face, saying that he wants to be a great soccer player. Hani becomes happy, saying that her son suddenly seems very mature, and asks if he still wants to be like Park Ji-seok, but the protagonist says no, leaving his father surprised. He continues saying that he wants to be even more incredible than him, reaching the top and becoming the best player the world has ever seen. His parents are surprised by that answer, and the protagonist keeps smiling, saying that this is his goal and his greatest dream. The two end up happy to see that at least Yang's ambitions are set and very clear in his head. While looking at the water inside his mug, he thinks that he is 10 years old now and at an age where he can do anything. He can do whatever he wants until bedtime after school since he is still in 3rd grade. He calls his father and asks where the Fever Nova is. Hani hands him the ball. The official ball of the 2002 Korea World Cup was called Fever Nova. While the protagonist is holding the Fever Nova, he wonders why his heart beats so strongly just from looking at that ball. The next day, he is running across the field feeling incredible, because when he was young, he wanted to grow up quickly, but only after reaching adulthood did he realize that the truly amazing moment was when he had freedom and his dreams alive in his mind. He stops running across the field and thinks that now it is time to take a look and see if that ability is real. He closes his eyes and begins to focus. Suddenly, a system screen appears in front of him, showing his name and saying that he has no talents at the moment. Yang is surprised by that, but also finds it quite disappointing. He thought he had some ability when he was younger, but he has no kind of talent, which means he's not even close to being a soccer genius, because with his natural talent, he could barely become a poster boy for someplace. He continues playing with the ball and thinks that it will take some time to adapt to this younger body, and that it would be good to have someone to compare himself with. Suddenly, Jung-ho shouts the protagonist's name, asking what he is doing, and emphasizes that he does not even know how to play soccer. The protagonist looks at him and thinks that it really is him from 10 years ago. Young goes over to Jung-ho and asks if he is trying to start a fight just because he saw him. Jung-ho asks what is wrong with criticizing someone for not being able to do something, and tries to provoke the protagonist, who gets irritated, clenching his hands. Jung-ho stands still, a little confused, because he was expecting a fight, but the protagonist thinks that instead of hitting that guy in the head, it is time to test his new ability. That ability can not only reveal his own talent, but also what is inside others. When he activates the ability, 2 screens appear in front of him. The system says that Jung-ho has a rank B soccer prodigy talent and a rank C powerful mid-range shot. If the protagonist meets the conditions, he will be able to copy 1 talent. The condition is to play soccer together for at least 60 minutes. Yang becomes happy because now he can see it, and with the ability given to him by the demon of greed, he can not only see his own talent but also the talents of others, as well as copy them. However, Young thinks that Jung-ho is not a soccer genius either, but he is better than having nothing, and that is not as surprising as he thought that boy might be. But if the conditions are met, he really can steal the talent, and this is something he has to see to believe, because that is the devil's ability mentioned by Mammon. And even though he does not know exactly what will happen, he thinks it is better to try. He asks Jung-ho if he would accept playing a soccer match. The two begin to play, but the protagonist takes a real beating. Jung-ho says that it is very boring, since the protagonist does not show any kind of competitiveness, so he will not play anymore. Young thinks that the harsh criticism of a soccer prodigy will no longer matter, because since he had played for the time required by the system, another screen appears in front of him, telling him to choose the talent he wants to copy. Young thinks there is no need to avoid it and chooses soccer prodigy. Suddenly, the system screen begins to shine and the new rank B soccer prodigy ability is registered. The protagonist becomes excited because with this, both he and Jung-ho are on the same level, and how much he will grow in the future depends only on his efforts, but at least he is confident that he can grow this time. Young notices that something strange is happening with the system screens. Suddenly, the screen changes and another condition appears, saying rank C powerful mid-range shot. If the protagonist meets the conditions, he will be able to copy 1 talent. The condition is to play soccer with Jung-ho for 50 minutes. Young realizes that copying a talent does not mean that the other person's talent will disappear, and the condition is also decreased to 50 minutes. Maybe this happened because the other talent is only rank C. Jungho picks up the ball to leave, but the protagonist calls him, saying that he would like to play a little more. But Jungho says he does not want to because the protagonist is way too bad. Besides, he needs to practice. Young says that if they play together a little longer, he promises to buy Jungho some tteokbokki, but Jungho just ignores him and keeps walking. The protagonist tries to raise the offer, saying that he will also buy him some chocolate. Jungho becomes a little more interested in the subject, asking if the protagonist is serious. Young thanks the Lord and thinks that, in the end, Jungho is also just a child. 50 minutes later, Young is already exhausted, but the system screen appears right in front of him, asking him to choose the talent he wants to copy, giving him the option of the rank C powerful mid-range shot. He confirms it, and the system quickly updates and shows that he now has both abilities. After getting what he wants, Young takes a deep breath and tells Jungho that he is already very tired, saying that they can stop now. Jungho asks if he is really tired already and wonders if it is just his imagination or if the protagonist's skills really have improved a little. Young just laughs and thanks Jungho, who gets confused and asks why Young is thanking him. But the protagonist laughs, saying that it is nothing, and tells him they should get going because he will keep what they agreed on. The two begin leaving the field, and Jungho asks if he really has money with him. Young says yes and tells him not to worry about it. The protagonist thinks that, thanks to Jungho, he managed to obtain 2 talents, so he should at least buy what they had agreed on before. Jungho, still worried, tells the protagonist that his family does not have much money and asks if his mother really will not scold him because of it. Young is not very pleased, thinking that either way, that bastard Jungho has a slightly unpleasant personality, and if that idiot had not said that, he really would have been willing to go there and buy something for them to eat. Young extends his hand and shows the money, saying that they no longer need to stay together, so he can leave immediately. Jungho gets angry, but the protagonist just keeps walking. While walking down the sidewalk, he thinks that this is still not enough. To make that talent bloom, a lot of work and a little luck will be necessary. He remembers that there was a time when a video of a 5-year-old child playing soccer had gone viral on YouTube, and because that video had gone viral, the boy was scouted by Manchester United. However, in his youth, he only has a cell phone and not YouTube, but there is still a way. He looks to the side and sees a soccer game playing on television, and thinks that the only way to go viral is to appear on a broadcast. And coincidentally, he thinks there is a perfect broadcast for doing that. Originally, it was a youth development program that used to air only during the World Cup season. Through that broadcast, more than 10 children became professionals. One of them is Lee Kang-cheol, who is a player for Valencia CF. And this is a golden opportunity to get started instantly, so he needs to see how it works and try to get in no matter what, because the catalyst that ignited the youth soccer fever in Korea, the first youth development program in Korea, was that one. Excited by this idea, he runs home and tells his father that he wants to be in the filming of Fly Shoot Dory. His father is surprised by this news, and his mother is a little curious, because she does not know exactly what it is. Fly Shoot Dory is a youth soccer development program. Since it first aired that year, it is still not very famous, so it is only natural that his parents do not know exactly what it is about. He opens a page on his computer and explains to his parents that it is exactly that. On the website, it explained that it is Korea's first youth development program called Fly Shoot Dory, and that auditions were starting. The auditions for the program, which begins airing on MBS on September 3rd, are for a new soccer team called FC Shoot Dory, which will be founded next month for children between 8 and 10 years old. The protagonist's mother asks her husband if he knew what that was about, but he says no, because it is his first time seeing it, and asks what kind of show it is. He keeps reading and sees that the Shoot Dory audition on September 3rd is a new segment on Enjoy Sunday, currently airing on MBS. His father realizes that it is a youth soccer development program aimed at children from 8 to 10 years old. Besides, the coach of that team that will participate tomorrow is also an active singer named Kim Jong-kook from Turbo, and he is scheduled to be in charge. The protagonist calls his father and mother and holds both of their hands, saying that he really wants to be part of it. The two become happy and start laughing. His mother says that apparently their son is full of energy, but his father agrees, saying that if their son wants to be part of it, then it is obvious that they should support him. Time passed and the day of the audition arrived, Saturday, September 3rd. The Korea Football Association's training facilities, Main NFC, were located there. A man wearing sunglasses says that they need to select only 8 to 10 people there, so they need to focus on those they narrowed down yesterday. But a man beside him laughs, saying that the man with sunglasses is not considering the other children's skills at all. He is Kim Jong-kook, a singer and the coach of Shoot Dory. The guy with sunglasses explains that the concept is the underdog challenge or something like that. That is why they will only include those who are good enough to draw attention. The others are not that important. He asks if Jungkook is going to test some people, and he says yes. The guy with sunglasses emphasizes that they will use that for a promotional video, so he needs to make the training as interesting as possible. However, that does not mean he should try too hard, because all he needs to do is awaken the interest of the people who will be watching the advertisement. The coach laughs, saying that they just have to do their best and everything will work out. With everything settled, the guy with sunglasses gets up, saying that they will take a look, wondering if there will be anyone worthy of being noticed. The interviews begin, and the young man with sunglasses thinks that, so far, there has been a shy child, 2 jokers, a polite child, as well as a girl and 2 cute children along with a charming boy, and maybe that should be enough for now. He asks the coach what he thought of the last boy. Jungkook says that he did reasonably well because that boy can kick the ball very well and has a bit of inner cunning, so he might draw some attention. Besides, his image does not overlap with the image of the others. The guy with sunglasses says that it is very good to hear that and asks them to put that last boy's name on the final list, preparing to move on to the next one. They call Young, who introduces himself with a smile on his face, saying that he is very excited to work with them. The young man with sunglasses thinks that the protagonist is exuding confidence. However, that is not enough. He asks if the young boy's name is Young. The evaluator thinks that the protagonist is not particularly handsome or very tall. Besides, if he is in 3rd grade, he is not at an age where he can appeal with cuteness. Not to mention that he has no notable achievements or anything that stands out. Because of that, there is nothing that could make the protagonist become a topic of conversation. But whether he sees it or not does not matter, because there is only one truth. He asks if the protagonist likes soccer, and Young shouts that he does because he has always loved doing it. The evaluator laughs, saying that if he is so good at something, then he could show them. Young accepts immediately and places the ball on the ground, but before he can do anything, the evaluator interrupts him, saying that besides soccer, the protagonist could also show his special skills. Young emphasizes that this is exactly his special skill and starts laughing. The evaluator becomes a little confused, but as soon as Young starts playing with the ball, he shows impressive control and skill, leaving everyone there amazed. He continues playing with the ball as if he were performing an elegant dance, as if the intimacy between them had been built over years. His movements overflowed with joy and boldness. The parents of the other students are also impressed, saying that the protagonist has probably been training his entire life. Young stops the ball on his forehead, making it look easy. What he prepared to show in his evaluation was not just an ordinary personal skill, but a skill he had built over the past few months. Every day before his evaluation, he trained for hours, no matter what happened. This could be called a combination of the soccer skills of a 24-year-old person and the talent of a soccer prodigy. As soon as he puts the ball on the ground, Jungkook asks Choi if that boy is a soccer prodigy. Choi, very impressed, says that apparently he is, so they should observe that boy a little more. Jungkook tells the protagonist that now they will have a simple test and asks if he is confident. Young asks what kind of test it will be. The coach explains that the two of them will play a soccer match together, and Young will be the attacker, while Jungkook will play the role of defender. Because of that, the protagonist has to do his best to try to score a goal. The coach asks if the protagonist thinks he is capable of doing that, and without thinking twice, he answers yes. Young prepares for the test and thinks that the format of that test is similar to freestyle soccer. The winner wins simply by putting the ball into the small goal in the corner. The coach was thinking that this was only a test to study the protagonist a little more, because even if he could not score the goal, he still would not be disqualified, since the truth is that this was not just a skill evaluation, but because they were filming to make a promotional video. And with all the skill Young had shown before, he might be the perfect person. The protagonist prepares to attack and advances against the coach, who is thinking about going a little easy on Young. But before the coach can even make any movement, the protagonist moves across the field like lightning and gets past his opponent with extreme ease, managing to score the goal. Jungkook becomes even more impressed, saying that the boy really is incredible because apparently he is not only good at doing little tricks with the ball, he throws the ball to the protagonist, saying that he would like to try one more time, but thinks that this time he needs to play seriously to see what that boy is truly capable of. He prepares to play for real, wondering whether the protagonist may or may not be a prodigy. Young looks at his opponent, but he only sees his true objective, which is to score the goal. He starts moving quickly, leaving Jungkook a little lost, and as soon as he gets a small opportunity, he shoots with frightening power, scoring the goal. Once again, everyone is impressed and starts applauding. The coach is also impressed, thinking that the protagonist really is very good because he managed to realize that he was no match in a physical contest against someone stronger. So he made a smart play and scored from a distance. Not even Young was prepared for all that skill. The coach keeps looking at him and thinks that despite everything, That was a beautiful mid-range shot, which means there is nothing else he needs to see. That boy truly is brilliant at soccer. At the end of the test, Young is happy with his performance, because judging by the reaction of the production team, he will definitely pass. All that training he did for months was worth it, and this is a great start. If he can put on a good performance during the broadcast, he will become famous in the blink of an eye, and it will no longer be just a dream, but the beginning of a great story. Famous teams will probably fight to sign him, so he will be like Lee Kang-cheol. To present the best result Shoot Dory has ever produced, we need to talk about Lee Kang-cheol. He raised the expectations of soccer fans nationwide with his incredible skills and became an overnight star in the soccer world. Thanks to that, he joined a prestigious soccer team in Spain called Valencia CF and is on the path to the elite. But the protagonist dreams of playing for Barcelona because in his past life, as he was growing up, he saw with his own eyes an incredible, legendary, bold, and joyful player. His movements were so amazing that not even science could explain them. Because of that, he was nicknamed the Wizard. His name is Ronaldinho. But if by chance he cannot get into Barcelona, he would be happy to join Real Madrid. Either way, he will make it, no matter what happens. Suddenly, someone arrives behind him and starts shouting his name. The protagonist is surprised, and when he looks back, he sees that it is his coach. But he calls him by name anyway. Jungkook is surprised to see that the protagonist knows him. Young explains that he had already seen him on a show. His coach becomes happy and asks if he is serious, but decides to change the subject, saying that either way, he was there to say that the protagonist really is very good at soccer and may have a bright future. Young is happy about that and greets his coach, asking if he is also going to appear on that program. Jungkook says yes because his older brother is the director. Suddenly, the protagonist's mother and father appear. They introduce themselves to the coach. Jungkook becomes a little embarrassed, and the protagonist's father says that he may have seen him somewhere. His mother also agrees, saying that the man's face is very familiar. Young explains to his parents that the man is Jungkook, the one called the lion, the white cat. Hani is surprised and says that is exactly it, apologizing for not recognizing him earlier. Jungkook says that it is fine and begins explaining that he was there to talk to Young because he witnessed that boy playing and he really is very good at soccer. Hani thanks him for the compliment, saying that even though Young is his son, it is still incredible to watch him play. Jungkook says that maybe that boy could go overseas. The two continue talking, and the protagonist is impressed to see that this is the first time they have met, and yet they are talking as if they have known each other for a long time. A few minutes later, the coach says that either way, he hopes the protagonist gets great results. Hani thanks him once again for all the support and tells Jungkook to take care. The coach thanks him, tells them to be careful on their way home as well, and wishes the protagonist good luck. Young celebrates and also wishes his coach good luck. Suddenly, the system appears in front of him, saying that Jungkook has the rank C talent sculpted muscles of a ballad singer, and if he fulfills the conditions, he will be able to copy one talent. The condition is to exercise with him for more than 60 minutes. The protagonist is surprised to see that there are more talents on the list that have nothing to do with soccer, but he decides to try anyway. He calls his coach, asking if there is any protein supplement he could recommend. Jungkook is flattered, but explains to the protagonist that he is still too young to take supplements. Even so, it would not be bad for him to know about it and asks if he should explain. The protagonist smiles and says yes. The protagonist thinks that his coach really seems very interested because he heard that the phrase he just said is the favorite phrase of fitness enthusiasts. And apparently, it is true. Young takes advantage of his coach's excitement and keeps the conversation going, saying that, if possible, he would also like to learn some exercises. This makes Jungkook even happier and more excited. A short while later, they go back to the soccer field again. Jungkook begins explaining the benefits of protein to the protagonist as well as some exercises. Besides that, they also start running together and playing a little soccer. An hour later, while they are resting, the protagonist thinks that he has probably already reached the necessary number of hours. After he says that, the system appears again, telling him to choose the talent he wants to copy. Without thinking twice, he chooses the rank C sculpted muscles talent because he has no idea where a soccer player would use a good singing voice. As soon as he makes his choice, he touches his biceps, thinking that he can already feel his muscles getting stronger. And that is not something a soccer player really needs, but it can be quite useful in battles for the ball. Hani thanks him once again and asks the coach how he could thank him for spending time helping his son. Jungkook laughs and says that there is no need to thank him, because he also enjoyed that moment a lot, since in recent days he has not had much time to focus on his exercises. He looks at the protagonist thinking that it was a very special moment, and even though he likes children a lot, this was the first time a child had shown interest in a fit and healthy lifestyle. 2 weeks later, Hani receives a phone call. The protagonist notices that the tone of his father's voice is changing, and as soon as he hangs up the phone, he comes running over and hugs his son, saying that he really did it. Hani is so happy and excited about the news that he starts spinning while holding the protagonist. Young asks him to stop because he's about to throw up, but his father can only smile while saying that he's very proud of what his son managed to do. Young asks if it was MBS on the call and if he was selected for Shoot Dory. Hani says that is exactly it, that he passed the test and was selected. The protagonist's eyes begin to shine. September 16, 2002, that was the moment Young's name was proudly listed among the members of Shoot Dory. The protagonist can barely contain himself, jumping and shouting with happiness. Hani calls his wife to celebrate with them too, because their son has just been selected. She is surprised and very happy. Hani continues explaining that the soccer team will even pay an appearance fee. Young's mother does not even know what to say because she is so happy. Hani says that at this rate, their son might end up becoming a big celebrity. His mother asks what they should do if a fan club is formed and several advertising offers start arriving. But while his parents are celebrating and thinking about what might happen in the future, the protagonist has only one thought in his head. He is definitely going to become a soccer player. Deep down, he already knew he would be selected. But even so, he is still very happy because this is his first achievement after returning to the past. His heart begins to race because this will be his first appearance on TV. Since he will be part of the main cast, he takes a deep breath and tells himself that he will definitely succeed this time. And no matter what happens, as long as he uses this opportunity to show his skills to the world, everything will be fine. All the fan clubs and advertisements do not matter because he has only one goal, which is soccer. He holds the ball in his hands and closes his eyes, visualizing his dreams and goals. He can see himself in a stadium, with the fans shouting his name while he radiates skill on the field, conquering everything, both on and off the pitch. Excited by all of this, he shouts to his father that he will come back a little later, because he needs to play now. After all, either way, skills are more important than the broadcast itself. Young thinks that every soccer fan from his past life dreamed of becoming Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, but he only wanted one thing. In his head, he could score a hat-trick, but when he actually played soccer, his body could not keep up. And the reason was very simple. His basic skills were terrible. And the most basic fundamental skill is juggling the ball. The trick is to kick the ball upward with the instep without letting it touch the ground. This is a footwork movement that requires concentration and repeated practice, because even Maradona used to do these basic movements. Young thinks about the step-by-step process, slowly and steadily, and even though he is out of breath, he still has not reached his complete exhaustion, because he can feel that his skills are improving as the days go by. And that is the true talent of a real prodigy. Every time he reached his goal, he added another 100 repetitions on top of it, since he learned that from that bushy-browed guy. In the afternoon, he would go to the field to work on his endurance, because soccer is essentially a battle of stamina. No matter how good a person's technique or skill is, without a foundation of endurance, it is all useless. And even though he should not, he still overdid it, giving his all every single day. A short while later, he falls to the ground exhausted, saying that he managed to complete 8 laps. Looking up at the sky, he shouts the name Shoot Dory and promises that he will conquer it. After passing the audition, he was determined to succeed and went to sleep early every night. Waking up exactly at 6 in the morning, he stretched for 30 minutes every day to increase his flexibility, because he used to be 1.70 meters tall, but he was confident that he could reach 1.80 meters if he took a little better care of himself. After school, he practiced soccer on the field to improve his skills. He also began taking a little more care of his diet, eating healthy foods, and continued exercising regularly. He repeated this routine day after day. Before he even realized it, the day of filming had already arrived. Several cameras were everywhere and the team was ready. Jungkook goes over to Young and asks if he feels ready. The protagonist confidently says yes and thinks that his first evaluation match is about to begin. And he has waited for this moment for a very long time. They will play against the team from the Cha-Bum-Jun Soccer Academy. That team is the Goliath of Korean soccer. Choi goes over to Jungkook saying that, as the coach, he must show no mercy and needs to go all out from the very beginning, even if that means winning 20-0. They need to show the Shoot Dory team so they do not feel defeated, since they are talking about Cha-Bum-Jun Soccer Academy, the best academy in the country. If, by chance, the team loses in a humiliating way, the children will be heartbroken. That will touch the hearts of the viewers and make them suffer together with the team, but with consistent training and effort, they will eventually become victorious. This story will warm everyone's hearts. Choi looks at the protagonist thinking that if that little boy can do it, it would be the perfect ending. Since the promotional video was a success thanks to his skills, especially the part of the test against the coach. There were even rumors that Kim Jong-kook had seen it, so they should focus on that boy throughout the entire match. because a miraculous goal from the protagonist would be something incredible to experience. However, he thinks that this is basically impossible to happen, because no matter how talented he may be, soccer is still a team sport, and their opponent is an elite team. And even if Yang is a one-man show, it will not be enough to carry the other players on his back. Choi thinks that maybe he is setting his expectations too high. Jungkook tells Choi that they are ready to begin. The two teams enter the field, greet each other, and the crowd starts livening up the whole place. Comedian Kim Byung-jim and MBS presenter Choi Sung-dong begin the broadcast. The presenter wishes everyone a good morning because this is the third stadium of the Yongan City Football Center, and the stage is already set for a battle of titans. Shoot Dory FC, which was founded to dominate the national scene of children's soccer teams, is ready to play its first game against Cha Bum-jun, a very skilled team. Byung-jim says that this will be a very difficult game. The presenter continues saying that today will be those boys' first evaluation match, so it is an opportunity. Byung-jim emphasizes that even if they lose, they will be able to learn a lot by playing against Cha Bum-jun, who are masters of soccer. The coin is tossed into the air and the protagonist team will start. The parents who were there to watch are happy to see that all their children are adorable. The referee blows the whistle and the game begins, but the question everyone asks is who would expect much from a children's game? At most, they were expecting children being cute and playful, but that was exactly why everything was so special. The protagonist, without hesitating for even a single second, advances quickly and shoots with such impressive precision and power that everyone freezes, and the ball goes into the opponent's goal. The commentators are left speechless, and the spectators are shocked because they cannot believe what has happened. It was a shot from midfield because the protagonist had done it just 1 second after the game began. Choi did not expect that, and Jungkook calls out to him. After scoring the goal, the protagonist runs toward the cameras, and his teammates ask where he is going. But he has waited for this moment his entire life. Choi shouts for him not to miss this opportunity. Yang jumps and gets ready, thinking that he is not only good at playing, but also a specialist in scoring goals. As soon as he touches the ground wearing the number 7 jersey, he shouts, "See!" He thinks that this way he can steal Cristiano Ronaldo's future celebration. The commentators say that it went straight into the opponent's goal and that it was a shot taken by a child, but if they had not seen it with their own eyes, they would not believe it. But the most impressive thing was the goal celebration. Byung-jim shouts that it is a majestic pose, that only a robot would be capable of such a movement, a celebration that anticipates victory. The goalkeeper who conceded the goal, still in shock, thinks that this is the first time he has ever seen a shot like that, which makes him wonder if the protagonist is really only 10 years old. The coach of the Cha Bum-jun team thinks that this is surprising because they had said the protagonist was only at the level of neighborhood kids. Sang-woon is currently a coach, but for 7 years he was a national representative. He actively participated in the soccer league in the past and is a renowned soccer player, considered a legend. Sang-woon thinks that the protagonist's goal was excellent even in his opinion, because that boy's balance is very good. But considering his height, which is very short, he probably does not have a body strong enough to send shots that powerful. Even so, the fact that he shows that it is possible indicates that it is probably an innate talent. Because of that, Young has a natural talent that may make his future have no limits. Sang-woon thinks that he was once a professional player and is now a coach, so he can recognize the latent potential that lives and screams inside that boy. Besides, he knows how to shoot properly even with that small body. Explaining the method of shooting is very simple, but if children do not realize it for themselves, achieving it through effort alone is basically impossible. Young is probably someone chosen by the gods born for soccer, and because of that, he will become someone incredible. Hwang Ki-dong, a player from the Cha Bum-jun team, scores his third goal when the second half begins, and the lead grows quite a lot to 8-3 for the Cha Bum-jun team. Since they are a prestigious team, even though everyone was impressed by the protagonist's first goal, the team still managed to stay firm, and the lead continues to increase. The commentator emphasizes that the Cha Bum-jun team's overall teamwork is very good. He wonders whether, if Shoot Dory continues training professionally, they can also become a team like that. Byung-jim emphasizes that if they can get at least one victory within a month, that would already be incredible since they are a completely newborn team. Young is almost reaching his limit. He thinks that even though it is only 1/6 of a real stadium, he is tired, because in a real stadium, the area per person is much larger, and he is already out of breath anyway. He looks at his teammates and realizes that they are all lost. Some amazed by the opponent's goals, while others are just crying because the ball hit them in the face. Yang takes a deep breath, thinking that this was very disappointing, but deep down, he had already expected exactly everything that is happening. So, it is not that important, and if he had his adult body right now, He could win that game by himself. Even though he received a talent, it is not as if he gained some superhuman ability. Because of that, he knows very well that there are physical limitations when trying to deal with 6 opponents alone. However, the most important thing is that he can show his skills both to the people present and to the cameras. In the final 3 minutes, Chabum FC takes a goal kick. One of the players is preparing to attack, but the protagonist manages to intercept it and counterattacks as quickly as possible. But he realizes that he is completely surrounded and that this is concentrated marking. Sang-woon had asked his team to focus on marking number 7 because the coach already had in mind that first they needed to play against Yang. And no matter how talented he was, 3 markers would be enough. But Yang stays calm and easily gets past all the markers, leaving Sang-woon unable to understand anything. Byung-jim asks if Sung-dong managed to see that, and the commentator says that apparently the ball was glued to that boy's feet. Yang moved so quickly and with such perfect control that he passed through his opponents as if they were completely frozen. He shoots once again, manages to score another goal, and repeats the celebration. The commentators say that this is a one-man performance, and he is so incredible that he has already managed to score his 5th goal. Byung-jim emphasizes that during training, Yang did not seem that good, but apparently he is the type of person whose performance grows the greater the pressure becomes. And that boy is definitely a diamond among rocks. The protagonist thinks that when the talent of a soccer prodigy meets the brain of a 24-year-old adult, it becomes unbeatable against those children because his body belongs to a 10-year-old boy, but his brain is 24. The referee blows the final whistle and the match comes to an end. Cha Bum-jin manages to win 14-5. The protagonist's team is completely exhausted. He throws himself onto the ground and thinks that he has no regrets. Even though his team did not win, he still did everything he could, and that is the essence of soccer. Something incredible and great. And if he continues at this pace, he will definitely become a major standout. Sung-dong is in front of the cameras saying that Cha Bum-jin achieved a great victory. But despite what anyone may say, the best player on the field was definitely Yang, who scored 5 goals by himself. The protagonist, who is still lying down, is surprised by this. Sung-dong asks if he would be willing to give a short interview. Without thinking twice, the protagonist gets up and accepts. Sung-dong asks how he is feeling now. He stops for a few seconds and, with a smile on his face, says that he is hungry. In 2002, the coach who led the soccer team to the round of 16 in the World Cup left behind a famous quote that said, "I am still hungry." At the end of it all, the protagonist runs over to his mother and she says that he did very well. And to make it up to him, she asks what he would like to eat for dinner that night, because she should make something he really likes. Young says that he wants to eat chicken. She laughs and asks if he would like fried chicken or spicy chicken. The protagonist says that he would like half of each. Sang-woon goes over to the two of them and the protagonist thinks that he really appeared. Sang-woon introduces himself, saying that he is the children's coach at the Cha Bum-jin soccer school and that his name is Sang-woon. The protagonist's mother says that she already knows him because she had seen him play on TV. Sang-woon says that this makes things a little easier. He continues saying that the protagonist's skills are truly impressive, and he's not saying that just to say it because he is still covered in goosebumps after seeing that boy play. He thanks Yang, saying that thanks to his incredible skill on the field, he was able to see a great work of art, an extraordinary player doing great things, and that made him feel alive again. The protagonist's mother feels flattered by the amount of praise her son is receiving and tells him to thank him. Yang thanks him but asks why Sang-woon used the phrase, "my teacher." The coach laughs and says that he will be very direct, saying that he would like to personally teach the protagonist. His mother is surprised and says that she is very grateful for his words, but she would like to know if her son really has that much talent. Sang-woon explains that at his soccer school, after approximately 3 months, they can access a certain extent of a child's potential. That way, they can inform the parents whether their child can become a potential athlete or do it as a hobby. And what he is about to say now may be a little premature, but Yang is obviously almost a genius. Both the protagonist and his mother are surprised. The coach tries to explain a little better, saying that he knows morally this is not right, but the desire to see Yang grow properly is not letting him be at peace with himself. The protagonist's mother becomes a little lost and asks what he is talking about. Sang-woon asks which soccer school the protagonist is attending, because if they are unsure about transferring to his school, she can tell him the name of where the protagonist is training, and he will personally go there to talk. The protagonist's mother explains that there is probably a misunderstanding and emphasizes that her son has never gone to a soccer school. This makes Sang-woon even more impressed. He asks who taught that boy how to play soccer. The protagonist's mother explains that when he was a little younger, he used to play soccer with his father, but he never had formal training. Sang-woon no longer knows whether he is standing before a child or a supreme being. He tries to compose himself and remain calm, then asks if she has ever thought about raising the protagonist to become a soccer player. His mother says that if this is something good for her son, and if it is what Yang wants, she would like that, but what really worries her is how much it would cost for him to attend the soccer school. The coach says that those fees depend a lot on the class chosen after the entrance test, but with the talent shown by the protagonist, he will obviously go straight into Class S. The basic requirement to join that class is having talent. If a person has no talent, then they will have to enter Class A. To join a class, one needs to put their name on a waiting list of more than 100 people and wait until their turn comes, which means that being in Class S is a merit in itself. He emphasizes that for 3 sessions per week, the fee is $120,000, and if she pays the monthly fee, it will come to a total of $900,000. The protagonist's mother thinks that this is a prestigious academy, so it is obvious that it will be more expensive than the others. But her son needs to receive proper training, and sending him there would be the best option. Since the appearance fee her son is receiving at the moment is $38,000, it would still be very difficult to cover the expenses with that alone. But for the sake of her son, even if it means using her savings, she needs to do her best. But before she can even answer, Young knows exactly his family's situation, and knows that his mother would give even the clothes off her back for his sake. He steps forward and asks his new teacher if he could pay later. Sang-woon is a little surprised by that question. The protagonist explains that he will definitely become a famous soccer player and will pay 100 times that amount, and if he accepts this agreement, then they can begin working immediately. The protagonist's mother becomes a little embarrassed and asks where he learned to say things like that. Sang-woon tells her that it is all right because, in truth, he likes Young's boldness. To play soccer, he needs that kind of attitude. He looks at the protagonist and says that apparently he is a truly devoted son. Young thanks him once again. Sang-woon extends his hand, calling the protagonist his student, and emphasizes that they need to make a promise. From that point onward, they will work hard and give their all together. Young closes his first contract, emphasizing that he will do everything within his power to achieve his goals. Sang-woon continues explaining to the protagonist's mother that their academy has a system called Special Talents. This is a list for especially talented children like Young, and she can think of it as a scholarship. Fortunately, there is a spot available, and he will personally recommend the protagonist to the director. The protagonist's mother thanks him, saying that they will be immensely grateful for all of this. But the coach asks her to wait, saying that this is not everything. He emphasizes that if Young shows enough growth, they will spare no support for studying abroad or making connections with professional youth teams, since there are limitations to the growth of a world-class player in that country. He asks if that is all right because this way he will be able to play with his talented friends. Young agrees, saying that this sounds very good. With everything settled, the agreement is made and both sides are satisfied. Sang-woon says goodbye to the two of them, asking the protagonist's mother to go with him to the admission test tomorrow. The protagonist thinks that he will get publicity just by joining, so of course they will select him as a special student. And everything is going according to his plan. From that point onward, he only needs to focus on playing soccer, because now he has the opportunity to learn soccer at a professional level. Young bows to his teacher and shouts that he will train until his bones break. Sang-woon looks at him with a smile on his face. While walking with his mother, he looks at some children and thinks that they are from the Cha Bum-jin school. So how could they not be talented children? But if they really are, that is very good for him. Young activates the system and sees that Kim Hae-hoon has a rank C+ soccer prodigy talent. However, the system says that he cannot copy talents that are lower than the talents he already possesses. He thinks that the talent he has now really is incredible, but Young-ho has always been impressive. He was known as Little Park Ju-hyung. Besides, his new coach had the talent to identify talented players, but he does not need that talent. However, when he actually gets to his new soccer school, there will definitely be someone with exceptional talent. As soon as they get home, the protagonist tells his father what happened. Hani is surprised, asking if he really met Sang-woon, and shouts that he should have taken a day off to watch the game too, because it is such bad luck that he could not meet Sang-woon. But even so, he is very happy because his son is becoming an excellent player. He picks up the phone and calls the pizza place, ordering the best pizza that has been appearing in the latest commercials. Besides that, he wants it in a large size because his son joined the Cha Bum-jin soccer school. As soon as the pizza arrives, the protagonist's eyes begin to shine. In the past, they never ate out. The protagonist's mother says that it smells very good, and his father tells him to enjoy it as much as possible. He remembers that, even when he wanted to eat that when he was just a child, he could not order it. Even though he was little, he already knew his family's financial situation, but in this life, there is no need to worry about his family's circumstances, because he will definitely succeed and repay everything to them twice over. He thanks them for the food and with the first bite is impressed, wondering why it tastes so good. Maybe his taste buds have also become childish, or maybe this is just nostalgia for a pizza he always wanted, and now it is affecting his palate. He keeps eating slice after slice, thinking that he cannot stop eating. His father starts laughing, asking if it is really that good, and the protagonist answers yes, emphasizing that pizza is delicious. 9 days later, the Shoot Dory game is broadcast on MBS. Fun, emotion, and the children's cuteness are the first steps toward becoming a success. Every family watching is loving that game. The protagonist's father congratulates him and he asks why. Hani says that he just received a call from Coach Sang-woon. They want to enroll him in the school as a special student. The protagonist becomes happy, but suddenly his mother bursts in, shouting and calling her husband, asking what they should do about it and telling him to take a look. Hani asks what is wrong and what happened. His mother says that a fan page has been created. This is a blog usually dedicated to artists with their information for fans to follow. Both the protagonist and his father are surprised and ask where it is. They run to the computer to take a look. As soon as they open the page, Hani is impressed, saying that his son really is incredible, because a fan page was created just 1 day after the game aired, and the number of members is already over 200. His father keeps looking and says that one of the articles is saying that the protagonist is the next promising star after Park Ji-seok. The protagonist keeps looking and realizes that not all the comments are positive. In some posts, an intense debate is taking place. People are commenting that they got goosebumps watching the game. Some people are even hoping that 10 years from now, they might be able to win a World Cup, while others are a little jealous, saying that if they trained hard, they could also play at that same level. The protagonist thinks that this is understandable. Currently, South Korea has high expectations for soccer, and nationalist excitement is at its peak at that moment. The national team had its golden era in 2002, but after that, despite many European players emerging, Korean soccer experienced a decline. So people feel hope with the birth of a new hero who might try to carry the team again. Young is finally feeling what it is like to be in the spotlight. Even though he has received some criticism, it is still a wonderful feeling. Hani is still looking online and sees a comment saying that it is just a PR project to create a new hero, because all the children were only acting according to the script. They asked if that small boy named Young is the youngest son of a Chaebol family because apparently his family is really investing money in the broadcasting station. This makes the protagonist's father extremely irritated, but his wife, with wisdom and calm, asks him not to get so angry about it because people are only jealous of the bright future their son may have. She asks what Young thinks about it. The protagonist agrees with his mother and says that the truth is, he even likes all of it. His father is surprised and asks why. Young says that the reason is obvious. If people are feeling jealous of him, it is because he is incredible. His parents are shocked by Young's maturity and end up laughing, saying that deep down he is right. The protagonist thinks that it is fine because it is natural for celebrities to face online hate, especially athletes. But that guy is being a little annoying. He looks at a few more comments, and a member called Powerful Player says that it was the protagonist's first game, and maybe Cha Bum-jin went easy on them because he doubts he could score a single goal against a foreign team. Another member called Anonymous Soccer Player asks if that is true, and emphasizes that he is not expecting much from this so-called new hero. This only adds more fuel for Young, who promises himself that one day he will definitely shut everyone up. The next day, already at his new soccer school, he observes the other students playing and activates the system, seeing all of their abilities. Seeing all those abilities, he begins to salivate, thinking that it is the same as being at an all-you-can-eat buffet with no scale, because there really are very talented children there. And with the power of greed, it is finally time to choose a fourth talent to make his own. As soon as the protagonist enters the field, his mother, who is holding his younger brother named Ho-il, asks him to look and see how well his brother is doing. Suddenly, a woman approaches, saying that her baby is very cute. She greets the protagonist's mother, asking if it is her first time there. The protagonist's mother says yes, and the woman asks if she is the mother of the Shoot Dory child because everyone is talking about him. The woman emphasizes that the protagonist's mother does not look like a mother at all because she's very young and beautiful. Besides that, she says she was born in the year of the snake and asks if it is okay for the two of them to speak formally. The protagonist's mother says that it is fine and asks her to sit down. The woman praises Young, saying that he looks much better in real life than on television, and asks if he learned a little soccer somewhere before. The protagonist's mother says no, and explains that her son has been playing soccer since he was just a very small child. The woman tells her not to be so stingy because they can get to know each other better. But the protagonist's mother keeps laughing and says that all of it is true and that all her son did was play soccer with his own father. The woman asks what the protagonist's father does for work and if he is a famous soccer player. The protagonist's mother says no and explains that her husband works at a semiconductor company. At that moment, the woman begins to feel superior and asks in a mocking voice if he is the owner. The protagonist's mother answers directly, saying no, and the woman insists on knowing exactly what he does. The protagonist's mother says that her husband is just a manager, and the woman starts laughing, saying that this is interesting and asks if they can afford the monthly fee for that place. Finally, they have reached the point where the protagonist's mother wanted the conversation to go. She starts smiling, and this time, it is her turn to brag, saying that her son is a specialist. The woman is surprised, asking what exactly that means. The protagonist's mother explains that it works like a scholarship, and that is the reason her son does not need to pay the monthly fee. The woman becomes indignant, questioning why only her son does not need to pay the monthly fee and manage to get a scholarship. The protagonist's mother emphasizes that her son is very good at soccer, as everyone can see. This leaves the woman, who had been acting arrogantly before, with no response at all. The protagonist's mother thinks that a rich husband is something that woman takes great pride in, but raising good children is something only good mothers can do. Meanwhile, Young is giving his all on the soccer field, and the coach notices that his skills have improved again in just 10 days. His growth is surprising, however. Growth that fast is not always a good thing. In his youth, there were many players with skills as good as Maradona's, but they failed when they moved to an adult team. That is because theoretical growth, practical experience, technique, and physique are not in harmony. So, if a player grows too quickly without balance, it will become poison instead of helping him. And if that happens to the protagonist, it would be a huge waste of talent. In Class S, the protagonist was able to receive the best lessons with the best coaches guiding him, as well as basic skills such as ball control, dribbling, and some passing. He also managed to learn about stretching to prevent injuries and the basics of positioning and movement by position. In a physical clash, he should focus on his shoulders instead of just crashing into the opponent, or even the way to get to the ball first in a contest for possession. There are many basic things he did not know. Sang-woon continues watching the protagonist closely, saying that he needs to run right after he manages to pass. Yang, a little confused, asks his coach where exactly he should run. His coach explains that even if he does not know where he is going, it is still important to create the habit of always moving on the field, because that is how he will develop excellent off-the-ball movement. He calls the protagonist over and explains that off-the-ball movement means always moving and positioning himself when he does not have the ball. In other words, it is the ability to know where to be in order to score goals and escape marking. He emphasizes that the protagonist had put forward as his desired position on his application form. Young says that is right, because scoring goals is what truly gives him pleasure. Sang-woon says that, in that case, he needs to be especially attentive to his movements. He always has to have a clear purpose for going anywhere. Besides that, he should also use that movement to his advantage. That means minimizing unnecessary movements. And he asks if the protagonist understands. Even without understanding perfectly, the protagonist manages to grasp the essence of the explanation. His coach continues, saying that even if he is not sure what needs to be done, he just has to copy and take inspiration from great soccer players. Young thinks that he had been very curious about his positioning, but now he is relieved to finally be able to talk to someone experienced about it. Because when he was young and did not know much about soccer, he thought the only thing that mattered was being able to dribble well. But when he learned more about the game, he realized that off-the-ball movement is just as important as everything else. These lessons will be invaluable to him because the instruction is always high level. Besides that, the talent in that class really is enormous. He looks at the other players and thinks that maybe he has found his first target. The boy's name is Yeom Baemun. He has a rank C formidable free kick talent. The system says that the protagonist can copy a talent if he fulfills the requirements, which would be to win 3 out of 5 free kick competitions. Yang accepts the challenge and in the end manages to win the free kick contest and, as a prize, also takes Baemun's ability. He looks at all his talents and thinks that maybe he can evolve his curved free kick into a knuckleball free kick if he keeps practicing, because that is a very intriguing idea. He thanks Baemun for the match and thinks that he needs to keep looking for talents he can use. He hears a noise and thinks that the class was not as good as he imagined, so he is dying to see the under-13 teams competing in the youth tournament. However, there is one big problem. The game is happening in a closed facility, so he cannot simply go in there. He takes a deep breath, thinking that the coach's talents are not worth the effort and that the conditions are too restrictive, so he would love to find a talented player who is active. But it is like looking for a needle in a haystack, so for now, he should just take whatever he can get and try to make the most of it. Suddenly, he hears Sang-woon talking to someone, asking if Coach Cha is at his house in Suwon. He looks to the side and is surprised, wondering why he is there. That is Cha Durim, a soccer player nicknamed the Runaway Train, Triceratops. Human Weapon, Charman, Charoid, and Chanator. The greatest Asian goal scorer of all time, the eldest son of Cha Bum-kun, named Cha Durham. The protagonist, still surprised, keeps wondering what a player who had an incredible performance during the Korea and Japan World Cup years is doing there. Besides that, the protagonist is also impressed to see that the man is more handsome than he had thought, because he even feels bad for having mocked him as Egghead back then. Maybe he should call this situation nothing more than a coincidence, but for now, he only needs to observe from a distance. Sang-woon asks if Durham is leaving on the 26th of next month for Leverkusen. Durham laughs and says yes. The protagonist can remember this event exactly. Durham received a love call from Leverkusen where Cha Bum-kun played and will make his professional debut soon. This was during that winter transfer window. Because of that, the protagonist is standing exactly at a crossroads where he must make a choice, because he may not gain any ability if he leaves without thinking, but he also cannot miss this great opportunity. If he does not act now, when will he have another chance to do this? So he needs to act and see what happens. As soon as he activates the system, the screen shows the following talents. Rank U, fast running janitor, rank A legs faster than a pass, and rank B plus strong physique. To copy one of the talents, he will have two conditions. The first is to play soccer together for at least 500 minutes, and the second condition is to do leg exercises together for at least 500 minutes. But Young did not know what rank U meant, thinking that it could stand for unique. Besides, he saw the Canada symbol, which means it could also be Durham's unique talent. This makes the protagonist even more excited, thinking that he needs to obtain it no matter what. Sang-woon asks if all he needs to do is provide the documents related to the youth competition. Durham says yes, because his father asked him as a favor on the way back after meeting the school director. The coach says that he has already done a lot and notices that Durham seems a little tired, since he has been very busy lately. Durham laughs, saying that he has not exactly been busy, but agrees, saying that he really is very tired. Sang-woon suggests a massage or something like that, saying that he should relax and loosen up his body before leaving the country again. Durham agrees, saying that he should accept, but either way it is chronic fatigue, and maybe it is happening because a big day is coming and his head is full. The protagonist takes the opportunity and greets them. His coach is surprised and asks what he is doing there. Young smiles, saying that he has something he would like to give Durham. Durham is surprised to see that the protagonist knows who he is, because even though he is wearing a large cap, that little boy was still able to recognize him. Young hands him a bottle and Durham thanks him when he sees that it is Bacchus. The protagonist explains that he could not buy Erosa because he did not have money, but even so, he would like to give him that instead, because it is great for relieving fatigue. Durham is surprised and starts laughing. Young thinks that this is great because he has made a very strong first impression. His coach also laughs, saying that he managed to hit the mark perfectly. Sang-woon asks Durham to remember him well because that is a promising player of the next generation who will lead Korea in the future. Durham, still surprised, asks if the coach is serious, wondering if that boy is really that good. Sang-woon says yes, saying that he will be surprised when he sees that boy play. Durham emphasizes that the protagonist really must be very impressive, because if the coach is saying that, it means the protagonist is not just an average player. He asks if Young would like to play a little soccer. The protagonist is surprised and shouts yes, thinking that this is a great opportunity. The two start playing a little, and the protagonist thinks that the effect of the medicine he gave him really was impressive. A short while later, as soon as the two stop, Durham praises the protagonist, saying that he is very good at kicking the ball because watching him play reminded him of Yuang. The protagonist asks who that guy is. Durham explains that he is a guy who has been training and his name is Ki Sung Yuang. The protagonist thinks that perhaps this could be the player Ki Sung Yuang who would advance to the EPL in the future, because if he is not mistaken, he read about it in Cha Bum-jin's autobiography. He took care of Ki Sung Yuang like a son before sending him to study in Australia, and he must have inevitably learned soccer from Durham back then. The protagonist, still surprised, thinks that a legendary soccer player is standing right before his eyes. They enter the locker room and the coach praises the two of them, saying that they did very well and asks Durham how he is feeling now. Durham smiles, saying that it feels good to remember the old days. The coach agrees, saying that soccer players should solve their problems through soccer itself, and remembers that Durham had said he needed to do something for the director. Durham emphasizes that even if he went now, his father is not home anyway. However, he has another question, asking if his father has already seen the protagonist play. The coach emphasizes that he has not yet, but he had said that he would show up next time if he could. Durham says that if his father sees that boy play, he will probably want to take him home and raise him. He asks if Young is really going to be a soccer player. The protagonist says yes, because he will definitely do it no matter how hard he has to work. Durham laughs, saying that when another player was the only one, his father took him home and raised him. The protagonist takes advantage of that and asks Durham to take him too, emphasizing that he would love to learn a little more soccer from the best player, just like Ki Sung-yueng. Durham is surprised and says that he already has a great coach. Young explains that this is not a problem, asking if Durham could not teach him something that the coach cannot, because he wants to become a great soccer player just like Durham, and the most effective way for that to happen is if he can train with Durham. He keeps insisting and begs him to give him at least one opportunity. Young thinks that he will not be able to get a useful talent anytime soon, so he needs to keep insisting until Durham gives in. Durham explains to the protagonist that, with his current skills, Coach Sang-woon will take very good care of him, so he should not feel upset and should always work hard. Young asks if he could at least occasionally go to his house, but Durham explains that he is very busy. Besides, the protagonist's parents would probably be worried about that kind of thing. Young realizes that maybe his strategy of insisting will not work, so he tries to appeal to his emotional side, pretending to be disappointed. Durham notices this and asks where the protagonist lives. Young says that he lives in Anyang in Gyeonggi province. Durham thinks about it for a moment and suggests something. A short while later, as soon as they tell the protagonist's mother, she becomes desperate, saying that she is very sorry and asking what she should do, because just asking for that is already a huge inconvenience, and now training too. Durham interrupts her, laughing and saying that it is not really like that, because in truth, he really likes children who are good at soccer. Besides, his father used to take in children when he was younger, so it is fine. Besides that, it is only 1 hour a day for the month, the house is nearby, and he can run at night. She asks where he lives. Durham says that his hometown is Jeongno, but now he lives in Anyang with a friend. The protagonist is surprised because he never imagined that the legendary player lived so close, and either way, it is an opportunity for them to exercise together. The next day, they are prepared to run and begin their first training session. While they are training, the protagonist thinks that if he really stops to analyze it, this could be an inconvenience, which means he owes Durham a favor. A few days later, the system appears before him, and the protagonist is surprised to see that he managed to meet both conditions in a single week, and it was easier than he expected for a unique rank talent. He analyzes his options and thinks that legs faster than a pass is tempting, but he needs to choose Cha's innate fast running, because the speed with which Durham touches the ball and runs is faster than he can imagine. There is even talk that his legs are faster than the ball, causing balance problems. Because of that, it really is a unique talent. As soon as he chooses, the system changes, saying that 30 days are needed to fully acquire the talent. During those 30 days, it is impossible to copy other talents. He is surprised seeing that this is the first time something like this has happened. He thinks that, just as it takes time to digest food, maybe the same thing happens with a high-level talent. However, he thinks that this is not so important right now, since there is no major competition during this time. Eventually, he will obtain it with time. Not to mention that he also gained a connection, something money cannot buy. Durham is definitely a great path for a soccer player, and one step at a time, he truly feels closer to becoming a real soccer player. He continues training, and time passes quickly, repeating training and filming. In mid-November, a member of the country who was the coach of the children's soccer team FC Shoot Dory was arrested on charges of gambling. However, the team's ratings continued to rise every week, dominating the scene. On the other hand, in the Elite Premium League, the LPE, a 16-year-old prodigy who debuted at Everton, delivered a memorable line, causing a stir in Korea. The phrase was, "Remember the name Wayne Rooney." In 2002, following Cristiano Ronaldo, other star players were born. With that, the protagonist kept dreaming about his future while watching Wayne's debut. On December 11th at the NFC, the protagonist was getting ready, but this time he was a little more nervous than usual since there were not only official broadcasts but also members of the Korean Football Association's Youth Strategy Division, as well as sports journalists. All of them were there. Hani tries to support his son, telling him not to be intimidated by it because those boys may be tall, but the protagonist is good at soccer. Young agrees with his father, saying that he will definitely win. His father feels proud and emphasizes that his son is truly incredible, wishing him good luck. He enters the field and Sang-woon says that the protagonist's movements have become very sharp. Byung-jim agrees, saying that there are some concerned voices claiming this might only be luck, but he can say with complete certainty that it is not, since he knows that boy well because the two of them are close friends. Sung-dong laughs, asking if his commentator is already building connections with the next generation soccer star in advance. Byung-jim says that Sung-dong is the one known for being the narrator full of connections. Sung-dong laughs, saying that if he keeps making those jokes, the viewers might not understand. Byung-jim emphasizes that now it is time to take a look at today's match, and that the Shoot Dory team, which is thirsty for a victory, might be able to win. However, the challenge is something they could never have imagined, since they will face the Brazilian soccer team that produced countless soccer legends, including the greatest of them, called Kaká, the man so perfect that his ex-wife broke up with him because he was perfect. The Brazilian team is Sao Paulo FC. Choi thinks that TD, Leonardo, Cafu, and Rivaldo are only a few of the soccer legends who passed through Sao Paulo because it is a traditional Brazilian team. In 2002, they came to Korea to participate in the FIFA Youth World Championship, which was organized by the Korea Football Association with MBS. Choi thinks that he managed to arrange a friendly match between Shoot Dory and Sao Paulo. This is the best chance to magically improve viewership by at least 15%. Because of that, all the players need to give their best, since he is counting on everyone. The protagonist, standing in the middle of the field, starts looking around while asking himself if they can really win. Shoot Dory has worked hard to improve their skills, but he still thinks it is impossible to defeat Sao Paulo since they are not only older but also much taller, by about 10 to 20 centimeters. He looks at a player named Douglas. Another player goes over to Douglas saying that the coach said that if he can score 10 goals in that match, he will be able to go to an amusement park in Korea. Douglas asks if that is serious, because this is a great opportunity. The protagonist thinks that Douglas Costa is the next Brazilian superstar. He recently scored 5 goals in 15 minutes in an under-13 friendly against Flamengo. Besides that, Douglas is so fast that it is hard to find anyone his age who can keep up with him. The protagonist tries to remember if in his past life he was also a member of Sao Paulo, but decides to let it go. In reality, Douglas did not play for Sao Paulo. He debuted at Grêmio and, after some time, went to Shakhtar and Bayern. The protagonist activates his ability, and the system screens appear saying that Douglas has the following talents: soccer prodigy, rank B+, legs as fast as a sports car, rank A, a genius who floats between brilliance and mediocrity, rank C+. The conditions for him to copy one of the abilities are to prevent his movements and stop his flights. The second condition is that the protagonist needs to win in terms of speed. Yong's mouth waters, thinking that this is very tempting. Carlo, Sao Paulo's coach, thinks that with Costa, the under-13 ace on the field, he will probably score 10 goals without even breaking a sweat, because he had already watched the game videos, and there is only one boy named Yong who seemed to know how to play soccer. To be honest, that team does not need any tactics. He calls his players and tells Douglas to relax and think of it as a warm-up, because the important game is next week. Besides that, he is already a standout, so he has to show it by scoring at least 10 goals. Douglas tells his coach to relax because this will be a piece of cake for him. Carlo tells Casemiro to look at that boy wearing number 7 on his back because he needs to mark him one-on-one in that game. Casemiro asks if that is Yong, and the coach says yes, that this is a good opportunity for Casemiro to learn something. Casemiro asks why the coach said opportunity, wondering if Carlo really thinks he could lose to that boy. The coach scolds Casemiro, telling him not to underestimate the opponent because he will see what that boy is made of once they start playing. And if he does not let a single goal get past him, then he will also be taken to the amusement park after the match. The coach continues explaining that this is an 8 versus 8 match, and they will play it several times. However, it is much smaller than what they normally use. Because of that, in the middle of the field, they will create opportunities through Wenger ball. Carlo also asks the goalkeeper to pay close attention to shots from outside the area. While the coach explains the tactics, Casemiro just looks at the protagonist's team, thinking that they will never let that bunch of little kids win. But apparently, the atmosphere is different, only for one person. That boy named Yong. Casemiro seems to be at least 15 centimeters taller than him. Because of that, he can both stop that boy from scoring, and if Douglas scores 10 goals, they can go to the amusement park. He calls Douglas to enter the field and show what they are made of. The game finally begins, and apparently Sao Paulo is managing to dominate the match, maintaining possession and passing perfectly. The commentators emphasize that they are not running around the field like idiots. They pass the ball in an organized way, and that is what makes them a world-class team. Sung Dong emphasizes that Westerners are naturally taller and stronger than Asians, but in childhood, that will make the game even more challenging for Shoot Dory. And even though Brazilians are not as tall as Europeans, they are still incredibly agile and athletic. And that is exactly why Brazilian soccer is known as samba soccer, that joyful and bold style of soccer that few people can play. This means that Shoot Dory is facing a complete challenge against a much larger and more physically imposing opponent. Byung Jim asks what that exactly means. Sung Dong explains that it means the player base is very weak, except for the protagonist, but perhaps there may be an advantage from playing at home. Douglas, number 9, tries to advance while dribbling the ball. He manages to push the ball a little farther ahead and, with his unique speed, destroys the defensive formation, easily getting past all the markers. Douglas is impressed, asking what kind of game this is, because the markers are horrible. He shoots, saying that now he needs to score the first goal, but The protagonist manages to intercept the ball, clearing it out for a corner. He is shocked, wondering how his shot was blocked and who that kid is. When he looks to the side, he sees the protagonist smiling and looking at him. The two stare at each other for a few seconds, and Douglas says that he is very lucky. The game continues, and the protagonist keeps intercepting the plays. The fans go wild when they see that Douglas cannot score no matter what. On the field, Douglas is also becoming irritated, thinking that he should have already scored 2 goals. However, he has not finished a single chance. And even though he has had a few more chances after that, they were constantly blocked, and this cannot be a mere coincidence. Douglas keeps looking at the protagonist and thinks that maybe he does not know how to play soccer. He goes over to the protagonist and asks why he is there. Young is a little lost and asks what he is talking about. Douglas keeps shouting and asks if the protagonist is not a forward, so why is he playing so deep? But Young still does not understand anything, saying that he does not speak Douglas's language and asks what he is trying to say. Since the protagonist is Korean and Douglas is Brazilian, they cannot communicate using the same language. Young takes a chance in English, saying, "You're not going to score a single goal today." Douglas, who also understands a little English, gets irritated thinking that this is the first time he has felt humiliated since he started playing soccer, because he cannot do anything because of a forward who is not even a defender. And that is ridiculous. He thinks that now he needs to show what he is capable of, even though the coach told him not to try too hard, but he cannot simply stand there and watch all of this happen. He thinks that even if he cannot score his goals, Sao Paulo is still controlling the game. Besides that, they also have Casemiro in defense, so he needs to score at all costs. Shoot Dory tries to attack once, but Casemiro manages to intercept it, and seeing Douglas advanced gives a perfect pass, leaving Douglas face to face with the goal. Douglas realizes that his path is clear now. The goalkeeper starts trembling, thinking that this time there is nothing he can do. Douglas thinks that this is a perfect chance to score, and if he can at least get the ball, he will definitely score. But suddenly the protagonist appears and manages to get the ball in front of him. Douglas is surprised, wondering when that boy got there. Young gains possession of the ball and goes back on the counterattack. Douglas takes a deep breath, trying to understand why a forward is always playing behind. He gets ready, thinking that if that is how he wants to play, then he needs to do the same. With his speed, he can catch up to that boy quickly. He starts running, but realizes that something is wrong. Even while giving it his all, he cannot catch up to the protagonist, who continues advancing quickly. Douglas cannot believe that he is losing in a battle of speed. The protagonist accelerates even more, leaving Douglas farther and farther behind. He stops in the middle of the field and starts shouting, asking what is going on there. The commentators begin saying that Douglas looks very angry, but the protagonist is showing a different side in today's game, since, up to this point, his specialty had been long-range shots. But today he is focusing on dribbles. Besides that, he is advancing toward the opponent's goal without hesitation, and his movements are very reminiscent of Durham's movements. The protagonist thinks that, at the moment, not everyone is a soccer player even better than Durham. But there is still one last player for him to get past. Casemiro steps in front of him and the system screen appears, saying that Casemiro has the talents. Soccer prodigy, rank B+. Intercepting the ball in one attempt, rank B. Decent ball blocking, rank C. In order for the protagonist to copy his abilities, he needs to succeed in a solo advance and score the goal. The protagonist thinks that, in the future, Casemiro will join Real Madrid as a defensive midfielder and defender, a promising player who will lead the Brazilian national soccer team. And that is nothing but an advantage. Without hesitation, he keeps advancing, saying that he will complete those two conditions right here and now. Casemiro was born in '92. His main position is defensive midfielder, and he is being called the Marcelo of the next generation, since he is a Brazilian prodigy with elite defensive skills for his age group. Casemiro thinks that the protagonist is very fast, however, so far that is all he has shown. And simply being fast is not everything. The protagonist is already very close and taps the ball a little harder. Casemiro thinks that this is the moment, but the ball gets through. He becomes confused, asking if he managed to stop the ball or not, but the protagonist simply passes on the other side, and Casemiro cannot believe that this is happening. He wonders how that boy can be so fast, because it is not as if he is using an incredible skill, since he simply kicked the ball far away and ran to it. The goalkeeper gets ready, saying that he needs to block that shot, but he does not have the slightest chance. After scoring the goal, the protagonist says that they are too slow. The crowd goes wild, shouting that he really is incredible. Against the prestigious Sao Paulo, the protagonist manages to score the first goal, and this is basically an impossible mission. The commentators also celebrate, saying that they are very proud and regret underestimating Shoot Dory, and apparently South Korea's future really is bright. Choi thinks that the protagonist managed to surpass Douglas Costa, Sao Paulo's ace, and even got past Casemiro's central defense, which made everything perfect. Yang is a true master of the midfield, dominating both defense and attack. He shouts, saying that it would be perfect to put. The reporters also praise him, saying that the boy is truly incredible and that the expected ratings for that episode will definitely be amazing. The woman who was filming and taking pictures agrees, saying that soccer schools these days have no open spots. The soccer craze is real, and all of this is happening because of him. Once again, Yang runs toward the cameras, jumps, and does his relentless celebration. He thinks that this was expected from Durham's talent, as if he were using a cheat item placed inside his body. However, he feels that his legs are trembling, and apparently his knee cannot handle all of that. Even so, the fans keep shouting his name and wishing for Korea's victory. Yang thinks that he is very nervous because of the Woong Won, because he is still playing in a stadium below his level, so it should be fine to be this happy. And to celebrate even more, he needs to dominate the entire soccer field. Suddenly, the screen appears in front of him, telling him to choose the talent he wants to copy. He thinks that it is obvious that he is the soccer prodigy and chooses the soccer genius talent rank B+. He looks at his status screen and becomes happy, since with this he managed to move up in rank, and he wonders what the condition is now. He needs to score 2 more goals with, at most, 5 solo advances. The protagonist thinks that he has about 30 minutes left, and maybe he can manage it if he keeps going like this. And his next ability is instant ball interception. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you.